Hello world, this is Jeffrey, JGB146 Blake for Hoopa Hideout, coming to you today with the first of a couple of episodes we're going to do that are showing me and one of my students playing against each other in a best of three. This is mostly because he's going to be playing Klawf at an upcoming regional in the juniors division, and we wanted to get him some experience with the best of three format since most of our local events are actually best of ones. So best of three in 50 minutes is a little bit different. We wanted him to experience some of it, and then I wanted to come ahead and look back and comment on his play, offer suggestions, and that sort of thing. So that's what this video is. If you enjoy the video, if you'd like to see more of this type of thing on the channel in general, I'll do more and more if these videos are popular. But even if you don't, if you could subscribe, if you just watch it at all, that's great. Commenting one way or the other is awesome, because I don't know how people feel about some of these live play issues, but I think they can be very helpful, at least for the people who were present during the recording, which is the biggest important factor for me here. And by the way, if you're out there and you want to record some of your own gameplay and have me go over it and give my thoughts, I'm not a world-class player yet, but I will certainly do that and release that as a video for you at no charge. Just let me have the material, I'll review it, but leave a comment and we can sort out the details. Anyway, all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and dig into the actual video of the match. I think I won the coin flip and chose to go first with gardevoir, but interestingly enough, if I lost, he would have chose to go second with the Klawf deck anyway. So I go ahead, bench the Ralts. I had the Ralts in hand before the top deck there, but I did not want to put into the active Pokemon that's just going to get knocked out when I need it to be able to go forward. We see Lincoln top decks the Bidoof there, and he's choosing not to play like any of the cards in his hand except this Spicy Season Curry. Now, this early on in the match, I think it's important that he actually do some more to get set up. So we saw that Lincoln had in his hand the town store to get a tool, and I think really it would have been better for him to go ahead and actually use the town store there to get a Forest Sealstone, and then use the Forest Sealstone to get probably a Battle VIP pass so that he can get going further, broadening his board and getting his setup really cemented in, along with taking the knockout here. That's going to do a lot more for him. So I think playing a Spicy Curry, sure, great, but going a little bit further I think is kind of a better idea here. He also, before he played at either point, he has a good opportunity here to shut me out of the game, because we saw Boss's Orders in his hand as well. So he could boss up my Ralts here, knock out the Ralts, and then suddenly I'm left with like nothing I can do. I'm in top deck mode with a Manaphy in the active. Instead of being able to evolve and draw into stuff, I'm just top decking and hoping. So couple things I'd like to see different there. But we do see Lincoln go ahead and just take the knockout. And of course, he takes damage from the burn, and he'll roll to determine whether the burn lasts or not. We declared that as an insufficient roll. It's really hard to see that clear gold color die, but he did roll and get heads to unburn himself, for better or for worse. Here, I went ahead, I had Rare Candy, I had the Gardevoir single prizer in hand, and I just went ahead and Rare Candied into it. Obviously, that's a much better setup for me than where I was beforehand. If I just had a Manaphy here, but I'm going to stop ranting about that one thing. There, we're offering to cut or tap our decks. All our hands under the deck. And both. I draw 3, I guess. Or I draw 6, he draws 5. Because he did take that early knockout. I have, looks like a Fog Crystal, which I'll play and probably get a Pokemon off of. And then I imagine I'll also use the Nest Ball to get a Pokemon as well. So I imagine at least one of these that I get should be a Ralts, possibly both, but I could see a little bit of argument in favor of getting Mew as well. And going through, checking my prizes a little bit better the second pass through. And yeah, I do settle on the Mew. In general, I prefer getting out more Ralts than Mew in most situations, but I do like to have the Mew when I'm otherwise going to be like completely dead drawing, and that's where we're sort of headed, it looked like to me. So I go ahead, I use the Shining Arcana, and haven't hit an Artisan. It's going to let me get out another Ralts as well. So I'll definitely take advantage of that, get out another Ralts, mark down that I've used the ability. Lincoln's wanting to read Gardevoir. He's very familiar with how it works, but he's just, you know, fine-tuning, making sure he reads every point and understands every single point on the card. He's good about that. I will be able to go ahead and attach from hand as well. And I choose to Brainwave for 150, so that leaves the Electrode at 170 hit points. So if he does inflict some poison and burn onto it, it'll get close to being knocked out just from that damage. That was my plan, at least. I can play as an Arven. I didn't get a look at what cards he had in his hand there. It looks like he's deciding he wants to get the Nest Ball and presumably some kind of tool. Looks like he may be deciding not to get a tool. This is something that he did a few different times. And I think that it's a slight mistake here to not get a tool. There's always some piece that you could benefit from, and even if there's nothing that you absolutely want to play right now, getting an extra tool just to thin your deck is a good practice. But he could also have gotten a Forest Sealstone in order to get another attacker set up, or get the Bibarel so he can draw. He could have gotten an Ultra Ball to get Bibarel so that he'd have plenty of cards in his hand as well. But he chose not to go any of those routes. And so with the poison damage and the base attack from the Electrode, he does leave my single prizer in play, which I think was a bit of an oversight, because I am definitely, one way or another, I should be able to knock out that Electrode V. I'm thinking what I'm hoping to do is get a Gardevoir EX in play so that I can get rid of some of the damage here. I go ahead, I play Artisan as well, and oh, okay. Lincoln chose to tap my deck there. That was before we told him he needed to start not doing that. Looks like I don't have a whole lot I can do. I can take the knockout and I can put energy somewhere. But I decided, and I think this was probably a misplay actually, I decided to go ahead and retreat in hopes of using the Mew here to further develop my board state. So I'm trying to decide what to get off of the Mew. I think the Ultra Ball there is probably ideal. And so here I'm thinking I'm in a good spot that I'll be able to take the knockout with the Mew, which certainly is a good place for where I'm at. I avoid continued poison damage on the Gardevoir, but I don't know that the ends here justify the means. I think I probably could have done better just being more patient. I do get the Gardevoir EX, and I'm able to play Rare Candy and evolve. I choose to evolve the Teleportation Ralts, even though it leaves the more vulnerable 60 HP Ralts still in play, because there is plenty of chance that the memory skip attack could be meaningful. And then from here, I'm going to use Psychic Embrace to attach 2 energy to the Mew in the active. I believe I have an energy in hand, so I probably should have only done 20 damage there. But then I also choose to Psychic Embrace. I'm thinking about it. I decided against Psychic Embracing a 3rd time. But here again, like I say, I have that extra energy in hand. So I should have just Psychic Embraced once so that poison doesn't pose as much of a danger to Mew. But instead I decided to go ahead and attach for turn to the benched Gardevoir. The benched single prize Gardevoir, I should say. And then I do use Mew's attack to do 30 damage, which is enough to get knockout on the Electrode V. And now we're in a situation where Lincoln's entire board is kind of fallen apart. And I think, again, if we go back to earlier on, he could have done things to save this. I like the Iono play, given what his options were, but I think he would have been better off benching the other Bidoof as well. It's protected from some forms of damage on the bench. It's protected from Screamtail, and it prevents me from just having, from shutting him out of the game by taking out his 1 card draw source. So if he had played that, I think that would have been much better than not. And here again, he's left having to just pass or poisonous and pass, and sort of poisoning doesn't do enough to be worthwhile, I don't think, because I'm just able to retreat the Mew anyway. I go ahead, I think that was an attach from hand. And now I'm using the Mysterious Tail ability before I retreat. I do get a Fog Crystal off of the Mew. And I think, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play it before shuffling my deck. Just trying to shortcut things a little bit. Yeah, just to get an additional energy out. So now I do choose to retreat the Mew, and I follow up by using Psychic Embrace to attach the energy from the Mew is going to discard from retreating, attach it onto Cresselia, so now I can do the Moonglow reverse attack and knock out the Bidoof in the active. I'll go ahead, before I finish the turn, and use that Shining Arcana ability. And happen to get a level ball that'll allow me to get Refinement Curlia into play. This just seals up the way things are going. For me, I go ahead, offer, and Lincoln now cuts the deck. And I refine away an energy, since I'll be able to get them back later on if I need them. And then yes, I go ahead and use Moonglow Reverse to take off 60 damage and take the knockout on the Bidoof. Lincoln here has nothing that's really playable other than Iono, so he plays it once again. I actually forgot to take a prize there, but I think we catch it and end up just putting it at the bottom of my deck. Yeah, so I caught it right then. I just stick it on the bottom of the deck, shuffle it around a little bit within the cards that I know are on the bottom, and then I draw 3. And we see Lincoln deciding what to get rid of with that Ultra Ball. He needed to keep the energy so that he can get an attacker and power it up. But I think he should have kept the Escape Rope as well. I'm not sure what the other card is, but I don't believe it's a strong enough card to be worth hanging on to when the Escape Rope enables him to attack. I'll glance back and see what the card was, but I think that Escape Rope to get his attacker into the active. Oh, switch. So either way works. I guess this way he's ensured that he does get the knockout on the Cresselia. I probably would have sent up like the Mew if he had played Escape Rope, and it's probably better to take the knockout with Cresselia. So take the knockout on Cresselia. So yeah, that no problems with that decision anymore. And then I do choose. I'm thinking about whether to promote the Mew or the Gardevoir, since I know I can just attack and have KO. Took me a minute to decide, but I end up promoting the Mew, and then we'll go through, draw for turn, and get that sorted out. I reminded him there about the damage from him being poisoned. And here I'm trying to decide the order of operations. I decided to go for refinement. Getting rid of a luxurious cape. And I'll do refinement again. And I'm sorry, that second one wasn't a refinement, it was a Shining Arcana. And then I go ahead for the Mew Mysterious Tail, choosing an item. Yeah, I'll probably just get something that I can refine away later. Or, I mean, I guess I had an Ultra Ball in hand, so I decided to just Ultra Ball it away right now. I knew something was going on when I stopped shuffling. So we'll get another single prize Gardevoir. And as I shuffle, so I'm definitely shuffling thoroughly, but I think the delays that Lincoln's making as he's like laid back and relaxed during my turn, it is taking a little bit longer for him to cut the deck than it necessarily needs to, which could speed things up just a little bit, just to try to make sure that he can get through more games faster. I think too at this point, once I'm clearly taking this knockout, I think this is about the time that it should be a scoop situation. Like, I don't know that he even needs me to finish announcing the attack, depending on, unless he has something amazing in his hand that he for some reason didn't play, but I don't think he does. So I think this should have been a scoop right here to end the match and move on, or to end the game and move on to game 2 with some extra time remaining. And you could almost make the argument then that since nothing's going to change and I'm clearly able to get the knockout with what was on board at the start of my turn, Lincoln could have chosen to actually go ahead and scoop going into this turn. Now here I make things even harder because I don't just need to get an attacker now, he needs to find a way to get a special condition set up. And even if he does. So he plays the Radiant Sneasler down, and then he does choose to concede. He knows I'll take that knockout on my next turn, and then he'll only have the Radiant Sneasler in play. Certainly that scoop was appropriate, but I think he could have saved an entire Gardevoir's side of the turn by scooping faster. The other thing that we saw repeatedly was that he left a stadium either out or in the loft zone that I had to remind him about, and that's something that Lincoln really needs to pay attention to going into the best of threes in San Antonio. So now we're shuffling up and getting ready for game 2. And again, my major criticism was early on missing that Forest Sealstone to get set up really hurt him. Even before that, not playing the boss's orders, well, I guess those are both the same turn, but not playing that is the entirety of what let me get set up and end up winning the game. I still think that if he had just bosses ordered up on that turn 1, bossed up my Ralts from there, I would not have been able to get set up the way I did. So looking for opportunities like that to kind of shut your opponent out of the game and keep them from setting up can be really big. And I can't help myself. I always shuffle my opponent's decks. But I did try to talk myself out of that and just normal cut for him. Didn't do it right there. And I start with the mulligan. Lincoln does not. He chooses to put a Klawf down. He's thinking back and forth, and even asked. He's like, "Wait, can I change which is where?" And I told him that he could ask to. He could ask his opponent to, like in the actual tournament, but that his opponent doesn't have to say yes. And then he didn't. He was asking like, "Would I be able to?" He wasn't saying he wanted to. But unless he had an energy in hand, I think you probably do want to start the Electrode here, just so you can more easily take those turn 1 knockouts. Okay, so here I'm choosing between a Mew and a Ralts. Again, especially now that I know what deck he's playing, I would want to put forth the Pokemon that he can't necessarily knock out, or not that he can't knock out, but that doesn't hurt me as much when he knocks it out. He draws his mulligan, we flip over, and I believe he's choosing to go second. Yeah, so I'm still going first. I get a Ralts down. I do have the Battle VIP to get set up a bit better this game. And I will use it. We'll see what I grab. I'm looking a little bit about trying to identify some of my prizes a little. But I'm kind of expecting just to get 2 more Ralts here. And I remember seeing the memory skip one, so I may be going back there, or I may be grabbing a Greninja. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead with 30 Greninja. Use concealed cards to see a couple more cards. Probably go ahead and play that fog crystal that I just got. Now, it's a fair question to ask whether I would get another Ralts or if I would get an energy here. I think really both are acceptable choices. I do like the idea of getting out the memory skip Ralts, though. I kind of think it was a misplay to not already get it out. I'll use the Mysterious Tail ability to get an item out of my top 6 cards. And looks like I'm going to get Ultra Ball. Between this and a Counter Catcher, I think either could have been useful in its own way, but combined in with what the next turn will bring, Ultra Ball should let me get going faster more often than Counter Catcher will. I go ahead and attach the Reversal Energy. It's the only energy I have in hand. That does give Lincoln a target that he should be looking toward knocking out, but, you know, I've got to do what I've got to do. We see Lincoln does have a Spicy Curry. He does have an energy in hand. And it looks like an Iono. He placed down a Collapsed Stadium, and clearly he had Professor's researches, a couple of them. I don't really care for the play of the Collapsed Stadium there, because he may draw into a Squawkabilly, and if he does, it's going to be stuck on the board now. And on top of that, it limits his board. If he draws Squawkabilly and decides to use it, well, then he only has 1 empty bench spot that's playable. He ends up going for the Brute Bonnet, which is a more necessary Pokemon for him for sure. But we'd also like to see there be room for a Radiant Sneasler. We'd like to see there be room for a Bidoof. And or get the Squawkabilly in play. So that was able to get going. You do see him attach a Forest Steel Stone here. And he has Spicy Curry in hand now. He's debating, it looks like. He was thinking about using the B-star counter there to get the tool for the Brute Bonnet, but he decided against it. I think that was a wise decision. I feel like he might have had Spicy Curry before he played Research. And if he did, I would have definitely liked to see that get played before the Research, but maybe I'm remembering wrong. Here, I start to promote the Ralts with the Reversal Energy, and then I think I decide to go ahead and promote the Memory Skip Ralts instead. Oh no, I promote the Grenade. No, I do Memory Skip. Okay. I think now is kind of a perfect time for me to use the Memory Skip attack. And we'll see what happens. So I can definitely Memory Skip. Oh, Avery looks like a good play. I can get rid of one of the Pokemon on his bench. We'll see what Lincoln decides to get rid of. I think the correct decision is to get rid of the Klawf. We want Bidoof to stay on our bench here so that we can eventually evolve into Bibarel as soon as we can find one of those or an Ultra Ball, so that we can have the consistency to keep going through our deck, to keep drawing and keep finding more and more pieces. Part of that too is he already has a Klawf set up as an attacker, and he has an Electrode as a backup attacker, and he does play a recovery that can get Klawf and Double Turbo back into hand, or back into the deck. So having the Bidoof ready to become a Bibarel is much more powerful than having an extra attacker just sitting there doing nothing. You see on my side, I do go ahead and get the single prize Gardevoir out again, once again, before I'm even getting out Gardevoir EX. But that's in part because I have that reversal energy already attached. I'm wanting to get some draw going on. And I know that it can be difficult not having a large hand and not having access to the draw that you otherwise would. It can be difficult with Klawf to switch attackers. So I'm probably looking at, well, I'm at least potentially looking at Memory Skip as an option here to give myself some more time. But I do have the double reversal attachment there that can probably help me out quite a bit. So I choose to go ahead and use it, counter catcher up the Electrode, and go ahead and capitalize on my ability to take a 2-prize knockout now. I was confirming the math with Lincoln there. Okay, so it's Lincoln's turn. He is going to go ahead and play a double turbo energy onto the benched Klawf, and then play Iono. The Iono play is totally fine. He sort of didn't have a whole lot else going on. And then we both declare that we're just going to tap and move on. I draw 4, he draws 5. One of the reasons that the Klawf deck, and we see there too, he has that Bibarel in hand. So if we still had Bidoof on the bench, he'd be able to draw more. And that's what I was about to say, was that one of the reasons that the Klawf deck plays so many Ionos is that you can shrink both sides of the field. You can shrink their hand size with Iono, and then you get yours back up to 5 with Bibarel. So you want to get Bibarel in play often, early, and just use it to... You're not exactly disrupting your opponent, but you sort of are. And here, attacking with the Klawf is enough to take a knockout on that single prize Gardevoir. Doesn't look like I have a whole lot that I can do here. I'm considering at this point whether I can even afford to do the Moonlight Shuriken or not. Because my saving grace here, the only thing I can really do is use this memory skip attack, and getting rid of the energy potentially could cost me there. But it's also possible that being able to use memory skip could make several turns for me. Could buy me the time I need to set up. And yeah, so I go ahead and memory skip, and I inform him that he's not allowed to use that Klawf's Unhinged Scissors attack. And since he doesn't play Fighting Energy, he basically can't attack with it, which is certainly the point that I was trying to reach with it. And then going over to Lincoln's turn, we see a Nest Ball. He still has the Bibarel in hand, so once again, even if last turn we had gotten, instead of the Radiant Sneasler, if we had gotten a Bidoof there, we could be drawing with it this turn by evolving now. The Sneasler is going to increase the poison damage in a meaningful way this turn, in between turns here, simply because I, prevented him from being able to attack. But I don't think trying to seek a knockout through poison in its entirety is better than being able to draw cards. So I do choose now to go ahead and get rid of the collapsed stadium. Remind him that collapsed needs to go to the lost zone. Then I will evolve up into the Mirage Step Kirlia so that I can start cementing my board into something a little bit better than just a couple Ralts. I choose to boss up the Brute Bonnet to make it hopefully that much harder for him to attack, seeing if I can manage to keep the Kirlian active. And Lincoln was chomping at the bit to go ahead and get started on his turn while I was finding the Kirlias to fill my bench from that Mirage Step. But I think that there are other places that we can find faster points of play than that. We do see him come down with the Electrode V here. He's going to use the Town Store. Here, I think he's going through the deck now and deciding what to grab. Generally speaking, unless you're doing it just for thinning purposes, having some idea of what you're getting is preferred before you start searching through your deck. But that doesn't mean that it's not worth looking through and double checking things a little bit as well. So he does declare that he's using the Brute Bonnet ability there. And I think this is a little too soon. If he's not immediately following that with ending his turn, that tells me it's a little too soon. Okay, that is what ended up happening though. But I was going to say that's a little too soon because you shouldn't use the ability while Brute Bonnet is in the active unless you have no way to attack. We also should have cleaned up the poison counter off of his Klawf there, but that clearly got forgotten. And now on my side, I'm starting to take advantage of the tirade of refinements. I do get into a Gardevoir EX. And to play that Super Rod. Looks like I'm just going to get back the Ralts and the single prize Gardevoir. You can make an argument there that I don't even need to get back the Ralts, but it's certainly not going to hurt anything at this point. And I know it's hard to see, but I do have the ability to use markers on the cards here. I have done both of my refinements for turns so far. And then I do choose to go ahead and play the Iono. Since I have Kirlias set up for draw, I feel like shrinking both of our hands back down to 4 is a good thing. Once again, if Lincoln had Bibarel set up, this would present almost an opportunity to him, because he gets fresh cards, and then he'll play some down, and then he'll get to see more. So I think that was one of the biggest mistakes this game, was not getting Bibarel in play. Here I'm checking to see what my energy counts are. I go ahead and do Psychic Embrace 2 onto the active. I might have had one in hand once again. If I had one in hand, I could have attached it manually and saved some of that damage. And then I go ahead and Psychic Embrace 3 onto one of the Curlios on the bench. Just preparing for that to eventually, with any luck, become... There, I asked Lincoln if I can change it, and he says, no, you have to stick with the Psychic Embrace. I thought that was a little funny. But I didn't have it in hand either, so there's that. And then I go ahead with the Gardevoir EX and attack the active. So with no energy in hand, I think that's fine. I think I could have skipped the third energy there on the Curlia, but having it's better than not, probably. We got a Bravery Charm from Lincoln onto his Electrode V. And we're still... once again, he has the Bibarel, but he can't make use of it. So instead of being a card that helps him get more cards, it has often been just a dead card occupying space in his hand. Because he doesn't have Bibarel in play, he doesn't have a good way to poison or inflict status conditions onto his Pokemon. Doesn't have a good way to get to those cards. You see a rare candy into another Gardevoir EX on my side of the field. Refinement away the Luxurious Cape. In retrospect, I don't like that choice of getting rid of Luxurious Cape, because I'm going to take a knockout on the active, and if I had held on to Luxurious Cape, I could have potentially just been guaranteed knockout with Screamtail on the next turn. I could have been guaranteed game. So I really shouldn't have. I could have refinemented away almost anything else, and that would have been better. Go ahead and refinement one more time. And I think from here I should just be taking the knockout unless I have an evolution to evolve into somewhere. We see Lincoln recorrecting the damage there. We see him boss up the Greninja, just trying to slow me down, trying to stall things out a bit. And with what he had in his hand at this point, he didn't have much choice other than to make that play. But I'm going to just go ahead and start the refinement train. I attach a reversal energy because I don't think it's going to be possible for me to go far enough behind on prizes to ever make a difference there. So I'm going to want to retreat off the reversal energy. Refinement away a Level Ball. And then we can conceal cards with one of the two energies I have in hand. And I'm getting to the very end of the deck. I forget. I think I'm still looking for... I think I'm looking for potentially Gust. And also the single prize Gardevoir that I know I shuffled back in with that Super Rod. So go ahead here and I decided to refine away the Fog Crystal. And I do get to that single prize Gardevoir. So I will go ahead and evolve into it. So once I evolve up here, Lincoln chooses to just go ahead and scoop at this point. He recognizes that even if I don't have a way to gust out the two prizes there, that I'm going to be able to retreat into Gardevoir EX and knock out the active, and that I'll have knockout the following turn as well. So once again, the big issues that I saw here were this time mostly about the Bidoof, undervaluing Bidoof and Bibarel and what the benefits of that consistency can really bring to the deck. So hopefully this helps Lincoln. Maybe it'll help you out there as well. But with that, this is Jeffrey, JGB146 Blake, finishing up with this episode. Please like, subscribe, comment with any questions or concerns you have, or if you have some recorded videos of yourself playing that you'd like me to comment on. But with that, I will be signing off. Thank you for watching.